Welcome to the wondrous world of Greek mythology. Mythology is a collection of myths or stories belonging to a particular religious or cultural tradition. These myths or beliefs may be about a particular person, situation, or series of events, or they may tell the story of a society overall. Understanding the presence of gods and goddesses in mythology. Mythology existed as a way not only to tell stories, but to teach and learn about the world around you. Myths began to develop and influence societies in a time far before any modern form of science, research, or public schooling as we know it. The time period in which Greek mythology was relied on for such information dates back as far as the 9th century BC. Therefore, one can hardly imagine how man would have understood the vast world around him. For this reason, they believed wholeheartedly in the existence of gods and goddesses, which they believed, much like we do today, that they called the shots and decided how their lives as humans would unfold. They believed that the gods and goddesses at all times were watching their behavior on earth and rewarding or punishing their deeds as men. So why did people look to the gods? As discussed previously, the people of ancient Greece looked to the gods and goddesses for the many unexplained questions of life in a time when science was barely accessible. Looking to the gods provided peace of mind and comfort when the many natural tragedies of life would occur, such as death, destruction, natural disasters, illness, etc. It would help to answer questions such as, why are our ships lost at sea? What accounts for the rising and setting of the sun? Why do natural disasters occur? Was it Poseidon's revenge or the natural change of the tides? Was it the rotation of the earth or Apollo's chariot carrying the sun across the sky? Was Zeus taking out his anger on the disapproval of man's behavior, or was it simply change in the weather pattern due to evolution of our planet? All of these examples are questions that would have been asked by the people of ancient Greece and unanswered by the science that we have today. What is a hero? A person, typically a man, who is admired for their courage, outstanding achievement, or noble qualities. The main male character in a book, play, film, or in our case, a most epic poem, who is typically identified with good qualities and with whom the reader is expected to sympathize. In mythology, a hero is a person of superhuman qualities and often semi-divine origin, in particular, one whose adventures were the subject of ancient Greek myths. What is an epic poem? An epic poem is a very long narrative poem telling the actions, travels, adventures, and heroic episodes of its main character, or hero. It is written in elevated, informal language. It may be written in a poetic verse, and it may have 12 or 24 books, which are like chapters. Characteristics of the epic poem. The main character or protagonist is heroically larger than life, often the source and subject of legend, or becoming a national hero. The deeds of the hero are told without favoritism. In other words, they would tell not only his successes, but also his failures. The action, often in battle, will reveal the more than human strength of the hero. The setting of an epic poem will cover several nations, the whole world, or even the universe. The episodes, individual stories, even though they may be fictional, explain events in the history of a nation or people. The gods and goddesses play an active role in the outcome of events, and all of the various adventures relate in some way to the central theme of the myth. Can you think of a book, play, movie, or story that you know of that fulfills any or all of these characteristics? The epic poem we will be exploring is the Odyssey by Homer. So who is Homer? Homer is the name traditionally assigned to the great author of the Iliad and the Odyssey, the two major epics of Greek mythology. However, nothing is known about Homer as an individual. In fact, the question of whether a single person can even be responsible for the creation of the two epics is still controversial. Though historical evidence does allow for the assumption that the poems were composed in the Greek settlements sometime in the 9th century BC, there is no proof that Homer and Homer alone wrote the Odyssey. And what is the Odyssey? The Odyssey is an epic poem describing the travels of Odysseus. The great Odysseus spent 10 years wandering the lands and seas of earth after the Trojan War and the fall of Troy. After many adventures and the struggles of his journey, he eventually returned home to Ithaca, only to find that the many suitors of his land had tried to take his place as king and steal his beautiful and beloved wife, Penelope. And so begins our unit on Greek mythology.